So we keep hearing about inflation in the news. It's like it's the new buzzword. But what does it mean? What's it all about? So, we're in a cost of living crisis. Part of that cost of living is about inflation, but what is inflation? What's it all about? If we don't understand what inflation is and know what it means, then how can we deal with it? How can we put it to bed and go, yep, fine, I need to deal with that, or no, I don't? Well, let's get into 5 things that you need to know about inflation. So, we've talked on other videos before about what's inflation. Well, it's about the average price of things increasing over a period of time. But why does that price change? What's it all about? And I thought inflation was a good thing, isn't it? Maybe, but these are the things that you need to know. A cause of inflation is a decline in productivity. That sounds like a nice definition. What does that mean? Well, let's give you an example. In 2020, we had a global pandemic. It was called COVID, and that affected productivity. Why did it affect productivity? Because we were all told to go home. We were told that we couldn't work, we couldn't go out, we couldn't do anything. We could go out for about an hour a day, run around, do some stuff, go back home and not come out again until tomorrow, when we would allow another hour and we could go out again. But productivity-wise, that meant a massive decline in what was produced. The theory being that, well, if you can't be there, then you can't produce stuff. But that has a consequence on prices. Because if we're not producing stuff, then people still want to buy it. So we then end up with a restriction in supply, a restriction in productivity. There's not enough there, so prices rise because that's the way the market works. So a decline in productivity is going to lead to an inflationary pressure. Increase in money supply. Now, I'm going to now use a word that I never thought I would use on my YouTube channel. And that is quantitative easing. Yep, I never really understood what that meant either, and it sounded like some nice words which meant that number 10 had a magic money tree that printed money. But the point of that is that when you print money, you increase the amount of money that is available in an economy. That means there is more money to buy stuff. But if there's more money to buy stuff, and also we're at a point of which productivity is left, so we're not able to buy so much, well, that just means that prices are going to rise by more, doesn't it? And that leads to inflation. Increase in the price of raw materials. Now, raw materials, let's the best example I would think of a raw material that we're all suffering from at the moment is electric, gas. We are all subject to that supply coming from Europe, predominantly Eastern Europe, maybe, but it gets imported. We are a net, in the UK, a net importer of electric and gas. We are. We don't produce enough for our economy, so we have to bring it in. But we are then subject to whatever price they decide they're going to charge for it. So if they decide they're going to put the price up because they can, or because there is a restriction in supply, i.e. Ukraine has some challenges at the moment, and those challenges mean that that supply is restricted, therefore that comes out of the economy, and therefore there is less in the market. And because there's less in the market, it becomes down to the companies to go, I can just charge more, can't I? And we end up with an increase in raw material supply. That raw material supply ultimately gets passed down the line. What do I mean by it gets passed down the line? We end up paying for it. And we end up paying for that in higher prices. If we pay for that in higher prices, well, that increases the average price of everything, therefore inflation. Increase in wages. How can we deal with the cost of living crisis? Well, we can do one of two things. We can either reduce what we buy, therefore we take demand away from the market, therefore prices have to fall, or we increase the amount of money that we have and therefore we can buy at that price. An increase in wage, whilst over at a small level, is a very positive sign that the economy is growing. We're all taking advantage of that growth and we're all able to see the benefits of it. A large increase in wages is going to be inflationary. The reason for that is it comes back to that average price of products. Wages form part of that average price of products, and therefore if they increase by 10, 12, 15, 25%, then all that does to this average price is just increase it. And we end up in this vicious cycle, don't we? That we see prices going up, so we go, right, we want more money. Okay, so we pay more money, therefore the price goes up. And we end up with this circular effect that could spiral out of control. In our economy, it's not likely to happen. But in other economies, we've seen that. And that then causes something called hyperinflation, and that's really, really bad. And the final thing, increasing taxes. Yep, well, what can we say about that? I think we would all say that we are paying more tax than we have ever paid. Be that PAYE, be that income tax, be that national insurance, be that capital gains tax, whatever it happens to be, I think we would all say that we are paying more tax than we ever used to. But at some point, we need to repay some of the things that we have had the benefit from. So if we take something like the furlough scheme, we take something like the self-employed interruption scheme that was used to help support us as business owners, as employees over COVID, those things need to be repaid at some point. There was no magic bank account that suddenly appeared and went, oh, I've got all this money, we can just give it away. It didn't exist. And those things need to be repaid. Those things are repaid with higher taxes. Higher taxes, again, increase prices, and you get the drift where this goes. It keeps going up. That is inflationary. So can we worry about inflation? Should we worry about inflation? I guess the short version to that is, yes, we have to worry about inflation because we do. It's part of our everyday life. It drives a significant part of cost of living and means that we pay more. The problem is, can we do something about it? No. Predominantly, we can't. We are subject to whatever price Tesco's, Aldi, Lidl, Shell, BP, whoever it happens to be, charge for whatever they want to do. Our only choice is to buy it or not. If we want that certain product or we need that product, we're going to spend the money. And therefore, inflation becomes not necessarily something that we can control or something that we can do something about. It's something that we have to accept and live with. Therefore, do we need to put much time or energy into worrying about it? In my opinion, probably not, other than we need to understand what it is. And hopefully we've done that. So hopefully I've given you some reasons why inflation's there and why maybe you don't need to worry about it and keep you up at night. But why not check out some of the other content on the channel to see how that can help you rest easy.